Hello everyone, I am Dr. Jitendra Pandey, working as an associate professor at Uttarakhand Open University in Department of Computer Science. I, on behalf of Uttarakhand Open University and on my own behalf, welcome each one of you to this online session. School of Computer Science and IT have started a new initiative, Industry Connect, where we invite experts from the industry, research organization, and academia to deliver a session on emerging trends in IT. We also encourage our alumni and our students who are already working or are experts in certain domain to share their experiences and learning with all of us. Today, in the sixth session of this program, I welcome our expert, Ms. Shrishti Triwari, who is managing cybersecurity and technology controls at JP Morgan Chase, Hyderabad. In today's session, Ms. Shrishti will deliver a talk on the topic Zero Trust. At the end of the session, she will be available for question and answer session, where she will address the queries of the learner. So without wasting time, let me invite Ms. Shrishti, and I request her to start with her small introduction. Ms. Shrishti Tiwari.
Thank you, sir, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here and giving me an opportunity to be here in front of you and talk about something which we say as future of cybersecurity. Before even we jump into that, let me share my screen. I have a small PPT which I'll be using and you all can see through. So let me know once my screen is up. Is my screen up for everyone?
Yes, your screen is visible to us.
Okay. So my name is Shrishti Tiwari, and I am associated to JP Morgan Chase since 6 years now. My overall experience in industry is around 11 years by now, and I started in information security, and now I've been working in the cybersecurity very closely since quite a few years. Apart from the industry experience, I hold certifications in CISA, CRISC, ISO Lead Auditor 27001 2013, that's for information security, and a few others in the list. Now, the topic today, what we have chosen is deciphering zero trust, and we also call it the future of cybersecurity. So before we jump into this topic, let us quickly look at some of the recent security breaches which have happened, and it is not very far. It's 2023 January. That's when, and we have to remember that these are not only the ones which has happened. There are quite a lot of the security breaches which keep happening, and only a few gets registered. Out of that, a very few gets open to the market too, because it also hits the company's reputation and a lot of that. So say Hive ransomware was one of the attacks which has happened in Consulate Healthcare, which has compromised a lot of name, address, date of birth, and those kind of PII from all of the health um, health related details from there. Twitter is known for data breaches now, and then it's like 200 million Twitter users data was sold on the dark web. It's just very recent. However, Twitter has been now known for the breaches now. And then one from this, say, Medibank data breach. This also is a healthcare department breach where health insurance data has been compromised, and a lot of details like name, age, what is the issues, and then the insurance numbers, the credit card numbers, and all those things also, they get compromised. So with this, we understand that there are loopholes in our security postures, though we have invested a lot of amount across the organizations for ensuring that the security is up to date. But the hackers find out, or they do some of the other ways and means to always compete and move ahead. So with their advancement and the organizations how it is advancing, we also keep changing how we are working, the trend sets, the the technologies what we are using and all those, so that we can keep up with the market, and we continue to save the details data the organization breaches, to the extent what we can. Remember that a risk can never be zero. It can only be minimized to extent. It can only be delayed. It can never be zero. So with that being said, let us see why zero trust is important. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, I don't know what zero trust is. How can jump into understanding why a zero trust architecture can be important? But unless we have a need of something, there is no point of getting into a new product or anything new unless we have a need of it. So in understanding why is very important. So what zero trust will deliver to us is it will deliver the security everywhere, irrespective of whether it is in or out premises. And as its name says, zero trust, we have to validate the rights explicitly. And this due diligence leads us to prevent the data breaches. Now, there are few provisions in this zero trust architecture which stops the lateral movement into other machines or other segments. With this, we can limit access to the lateral movement, and we prevent the data breaches. So these are few things, and where we understand that zero trust will protect the customer and business data. If we implement it diligently and we follow it, we uh, we aim to protect the customer and business data the way how the business data is getting compromised, and as it's like has turned very common, the hacking and other stuff. So it also helps, the zero trust setup also helps us detect the breaches faster because of the continuous authentication it does, the authentication analysis, the analysis it does. So it also helps us to detect the breaches little faster than how it was in the previous or the setups what we have been following till now. It reduces the complexity of the security stack. What do I mean by security stack is firewalls, IPS, IDS, SIEM, and other stuff. Now, we need to understand that having cybersecurity in place for any organization is not the agenda. It's not the goal. It goes hand in hand. The goal is to deliver the business results. So we should not be doing cybersecurity and not deliver the business results. So with that being said, an organization is set up, it's like little static. Say if I have any organization nowadays, the standard setup is like two firewalls, say internal and external. Now with the growing breaches or with the technology advancement, if it is trying, if it is hampering, or we are not able to protect the organization overall, we can't put another firewall overnight and start operating. So point is that security staff, the staff, everything is little static. We cannot change it as fast as these breaches are happening, or the hackers are progressing. So when we have zero trust implemented in place, we also have little relief on these places where we get that staff to upskill, we get the technology to upskill for all of us, and things like that. It also provides excellent user experience along with the high security, because it's not only confined to a certain premise, it is across the internet. So you need not be in a certain perimeter if you have to access all of the stuff. Now, for example, if I am working in JP, if I'm out of my VPN, I get to see very less content on my phone, which is only email. And if I have any link over the email, I cannot traverse through because of the security barriers over there. So in case I have my system or my device phone in authenticated through zero trust, I may have little more exposure. Of course, a person has to be authorized enough to look into the data, but then it also gives me, as an authorized user, I get seamless access to the data, and then it also facilitates moving to the cloud. So the new solutions which are coming are designed in such a way that it can be cloud friendly, and it is also suitable for the applications which is in data center or in cloud. So with this, let us now talk what is zero trust. So zero trust is a security strategy that says you should not grant implicit trust to any user, device, or an application by solely checking any property about them, say their network location. And over the next few minutes, I'll explain what I mean by this. But let's be clear first that zero trust is not some piece of technology. It's not a device that we can, just go and buy, put it in the organization perimeter, and then we are safe. No, it's not a point product. It's not a service. that we can just go and buy. It's a security strategy, and it has three core principles. So we will discuss about that. But before that, let me explain why the organizations are moving from previous popular model of perimeter security, which is also referred as castle and moat setup, where anyone and everyone within the castle or the trusted network is considered as a trusted individual. So you can just imagine, say, I have the external network, which is internet, and then I have the external firewall for any of the organizations, then the internal firewall, and then I have DMZ in between. Then I get to see the trusted network. So as far as a hacker or a bad guy was outside the firewall, we were fine. All these perimeter security, what we have put in place, was working. But what if the bad guy or the hacker is within the premise, within the trusted network, or has got access to that? So those are the stuff which, which we aim that zero trust will be solving for us. And so all this while, what we have been doing is on the perimeter, on the boundary, we have been just putting the security walls as high as possible, and we were just trying to stop the malicious actors at the gate. But now, this model, the old one, what we were going with now, doesn't work so effectively, especially post COVID. Now that the employees are working from home more than they are working from office, and the hybrid cloud is also something which is on the cards, and it is to maintain that infrastructure and security into that is a very complex problem now. We all know that we keep going to airports, we keep operating from home, we go out of the town for a vacation or some other stuff. We sometimes need to get into the organization related stuff, the content for anything. And then that becomes a challenge for us for the work, because remember, we have business results delivery is the priority. Cybersecurity is a supporting actor with that, just to ensure that we safely deliver. So just imagine a courier person who gets your parcel from Amazon. So getting the delivery from Amazon is must, but at the same time, our expectation is that whatever we get from the delivery should be integral. Like whatever was sent to us should something which I should receive. So if I say that as part of cybersecurity, as part of security, that parcel did not get delivered to me at all is not a good idea, or it got delivered but in a ruptured state is also not a good idea. So having a balance of the business delivery with the cybersecurity controls is the aim. Now the concept of trust is a very human one that we have been adapting to. Say for example, we have our house. Now we put the fencing around, we put those glass walls and all those things around, then we put a CCTV, then we also put a dog as deterrent, just to ensure that no one enters into the house. But what if someone is already inside the house using our inside resources? Now we can also compare this with the office setup, where someone is already in the trusted network and they can move very easily in the lateral network as well. Say I am sitting in my VLAN, and then I have access to physical and logical access to the data centers. I have logical access to any other devices over there, and also a lot of stuff. When you're inside an office, you have access to n number of resources. So zero trust is also aiming to stop the lateral movement with ease, because it has the various provisions put in place, especially the microsegmentation and those levels. Now, this brings us to understand the first principle of zero trust model, and that's explicitly verify. So that's a big difference what we see from the previous setup to now. So we now say that never trust and always verify. So the point is to never trust anyone. Just because someone is on your corporate network or is carrying the badge with an employee name doesn't mean that they are who they say they are or they claim to be. So always verify piece refers to the fact that every time someone, like a user, device, or an application, tries to make a new connection attempt, that attempt should be rigorously authenticated and authorized, and not simply trusted because it's coming from inside of the corporate network. Other thing is implement uh, implement the limiting user access or the least privilege. And this is the second core principle of zero trust architecture, which says that you should only grant users and applications the minimum amount of access that they need to perform their job effectively. This is also known as need to know basis or least privilege access. So privilege access management is a way to implement least privilege for admin users, where they just get the privilege to do their work and not anything which is apart from their work. So this is also taken care by identity and access management, where everyone raises their own access request and they ask for the entitlement, and then those go from the approvals and other workflows. This is there now also, but authentication is something which we see that zero trust will be doing continuously. Now that once we have authenticated to a resource, we get access to it, but continuous authentication to that is the key. Then the assume breach. This core principle encourages the teams to plan for the worst case scenario and build the robust and tested incident response, so that when the attacks do occur, the time to respond is rapid and it is well practiced. We already have had some drills of how do we respond on an incident, and things like that. And not only the principle encourages organizations to shrink the target and the impact zone to an attack through the networking principles like macro segmentation. This is something which I was talking about in the last slide as well. So micro segmentation is that, say if I had some one VLAN, and then I have the VLAN is like a space where you access some 10 URLs which is allowed for you in that particular VLAN. Maybe micro segmentation, it splits it into three, and then say if one segment is also compromised, the attacker will not be able to move laterally into other segments or larger domains, VLANs and other stuff. So that's the idea behind it. Now let us see the zero trust architecture. It is very high level view. So in this digital state, we notice that zero trust is not dependent on location anymore. The right users need to have the access to the right application and data. Here, all the components, users, devices, and application, everything has to go through the authentication, and zero trust will verify their access attempt. Basis the authentication result, which is identity, context, or and security posture, zero trust will either allow or block access. And block access, if it allows, then it will require multi-factor authentication to go further, and the user can access resources like applications or data into that network. Now, identity, context, and security posture is something where, identity is something who I claim to be. Authentication, context is the resource. So whatever resource I'm trying to access, am I authorized to access that? Security posture is, it is referring to the device, what I'm using. Is it fine? Is it safe? Or it is already compromised? So these are few things which zero trust architecture verifies before it grants the access to any user to the given resources, applications, or data, or anything. Now, pillars of zero trust is something which talks about, these are the various pillars or various areas where we have to develop the zero trust security. So it's not just, and as I said, it's not just one device what I put on my external with my external firewall and then everything's safe. So every pillar has to have incorporated with the zero trust security model architecture, so that the entire infrastructure is safe. Now, what is identity? This is meant to verify and secure each identity with a strong authentication across the entire digital state. Now, we will be looking at few services through which, or which can be incorporated, and we can achieve this. So one is the identity and access management. Active Directory, Azure provides it, Microsoft provides it. Single sign-on is one which can help maintaining the identity, verifying it. Multi-factor authentication is one which is helping to maintain and establish the identities. Passwordless protection, passwordless authentication is one. Risk-based profile identity secure score. So these are a lot of solutions are there in the market and in-house also, which can be used to put across the identity pillar, and then this can be safeguarded, or zero trust environment or architecture can be built upon. Now, coming to endpoints is nothing but the devices. So what it is doing, it is used to gain the visibility into the devices accessing the network. And as I said about the security posture, so whatever device is being used to access the environment, we should have that the visibility of that device, whether it is secure, it is safe, or it is compromised, or what sort of device it is. So it also ensures the compliance and health status before granting access. Now, what are the solutions we can put across or put in place for this? Register the devices into AD management device devices. Now, Azure provides this, Microsoft provides, a lot of vendors are providing it. Mobile device managers, Microsoft endpoint managers, defenders for the endpoint, and the data loss prevention policies. Data loss prevention policies can be applied on the device level, and also, we can put it across the web servers and other stuff. Now, talking about the data, moving from the perimeter-based data protection to data-driven protection. That's the transition we have seen. Now, we have to aim on using the intelligence to classify and label data, and we also encrypt and restrict the access to the organizational policies. Now, this can be achieved through security labels, information protection, data classification, and then DLP policies and other stuff. So Microsoft provides, I think, M365. There's a package which provides a lot of stuff in this to safeguard the data. Coming to application, we need to ensure that appropriate in-app permissions are granted, gate access based on the real-time analytics, and monitor and control the user action. It's more on a dynamic end. It's not that 10 days back, if I have got authenticated, I should be able to access it. Every time I come attempt, I'll be I should be able to authenticate myself with the right credentials what I have, what I have been supplied from the organization. For this, we have policy-based access controls. We have cloud app security from Microsoft, Azure AD, application proxy, cloud discovery, and other stuff available in the market. Now, infrastructure is use the telemetry or the analytics to detect the attacks and anomalies. Telemetry is nothing but the continuous authorization and authentication, what happens, and then we also verify and read what the person's activities are. So there are some rules set up at the back end, and it actually sees what a person is doing. It scans what the activities a person is doing. It should automatically block and flag the risky behavior and employ the least privilege access principle. Now, the devices or the solutions what we have available over or on us, or some in-house, the things what we can do is VNets. We can do resource and user segmentations. We have Azure security centers. We have network security groups, application security groups, firewalls, and a lot of solutions which can be used to implement zero trust security on the infrastructure level as well, and the network now. So we aim to ensure the devices and the users that they are not trusted just because they're on an internal network. Even in the internal network, the encryption of the messages or the communication should happen so that no one can extract that details or read it or intercept it. We should limit the access and employ the microsegmentation and the real-time threat detection should also happen. So network segmentation is one, DDoS protection service is other one. What we can do over here. Web application firewall, VPN, proxy, SSL, TLS, all of these are the ways and means to implement the zero trust security across network also. Now let's just look at this particular item, which gives us okay, I think I'm just trying to see what this is. Okay, so you all can see that these are the pillars what we have been talking about: identity, endpoint, the network, data, application, infrastructure. Here in between is the zero trust policy, which is responsible for evaluation is enforcement, which is pretty much authorization and authentication and authorization, threat protection, and what is written here? Let me just this should be policies. I'll just maybe make it a little small and see, but this is the policy and governance. So these are the people or the devices which are trying to access a given infrastructure, which is network, data, apps, and infrastructure. That is, all together it brings an infrastructure or an organization. Now they will, human or non-human, a few can be the functional accounts. Otherwise, we have individual accounts. Then the endpoint, we have some corporate devices, we have some personal devices. Both of them go through the strong authentication and the device compliance level. They have to get that checked before the zero trust architecture allows the access to the inside network. And then threat protection and these policies are governed from the internal organization, depending upon what kind of security they are looking at. When it comes to banks, it is more stringent. When it comes to something which is open page or web page, it is little less, because security also doesn't come for free. We have to do cost benefit analysis, as in if I'm spending 10 rupees for my security, is like, am I saving some asset of 20 rupees, or I am saving the asset of 5 rupees. So saving an asset of 5 rupees with putting 10 rupees in place is not something which goes good. It's all cost and benefit analysis, because end of the day, this entire thing is business. So once, from threat protection, you see that continuous assessment happens. Threat intelligence is something which figures out, what are the symptoms, if of any risky behavior, or what is going on. And then governance compliance, these are the things which are imposed, and put across the zero trust policy, which allows, basis all these things, the access is granted or denied. Then in the network, it is public or private. Public is something which is, everyone can access. Private is something which we have been referring as the tier 3 or the trusted network. In that, when someone gets access, to gain access further on the data, applications, or infrastructure, we have to go through, these different kind of provisions are put in place, which is classify, label, encrypt. So even if it is inside, we should have the encryption in place when we are, allowing people to communicate inside. Adaptive access is what it's the process of using um, the IT policies that allow the administrators to control the user access based on the multiple real-time factors. So it's not only, the person who is there, maybe what time of the day it is, what weekday it is the person generally active on this time? Say if someone is working in the second shift, so and the account activity is happening somewhere 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. So that means it is something else which is happening, or there's a chance that it should be verified, as in everything is right. So those are the things which are taking. And runtime control is also something similar, where see how it is happening, what kind of activity someone is doing. So it's not only that, I get access to a particular environment, but what I'm doing, what resources I'm accessing, what kind of copy paste I'm doing, from like the activity, everything gets monitored at the background. So all these things is something, this is more of a holistic picture on how a zero trust architecture is put in between or fixed in between this entire organizations. This digital state talks about all the pillars, and then how zero trust architecture or policy is placed into that environment. Now, zero trust is the future of cybersecurity. That's what one of the Gartner study is something which is famous across all the sectors. So they say that they will be able, like all the organizations will be moving to a zero trust architecture and replacing their virtual private networks by 2025. That's their study. And so the main reasons why we are moving towards zero security more and more is because the ransomware attacks, the spy related activities, the property threat, and all those things are increasing day by day. So this is something which is very, very important, and we want to address it. It's not that we can just go let this go as with the pace it is going on. So that's why we call it as future of cybersecurity. And the transitions are happening. I think as of now, it's 15-20% is something which is which have already transitioned to the serious security, and further is what we will see more, because post COVID, a lot of culture has been changed into how the organizations work, how the employees work, and all those things. So that's where this becomes even more relevant. Now, the advantage of zero trust security model, we have been talking all this while about this, and then maybe a few things just to mention over here was, monitoring and alerting on the continuous basis is something which we are going to gain from zero trust. Streamline security policy creation, the flexibility when moving between apps to data and services. This you get once you are authorized and you have the right level of access to a certain resources. And then excellent investment against lost or stolen data. It also, the reputation when it hits from any kind of breach, the monetary loss what they handle, that's different, but the reputation loss what an organization handles is much more, and no one forgets it very easily. So they see a dip into their shares, or their anyone who's on the market level also, they see a dip in the reputation of that. So, and this being said, challenge is something which comes across with everything. So there is nothing which we do and we do seamlessly. So challenges are a part of every new or anything day to day life. Also, the challenges are there. So we have to see that. Keeping in mind, we have to do the balance checks, as in think how best we can operate with a given piece of thing. So point number one, it says that the piecemeal approach to zero trust cybersecurity can create gaps. So you all have seen the six pillars of an organization where the zero trust architecture should be implemented. So say for example, I just put it on one of the pillars and leave all five for any of the reasons. Maybe I don't have that much of money at this point in time, or I do not have the approvals at this point in time. I have technology related issues or skill issues or whatsoever it is. But then we leave the gap in between, because unless we protect everything, we and if we leave even a small issue in between, that becomes the weakest link, and it can get compromised or exploited. Now, all in one zero trust product doesn't exist. It is, as we talked about, it's more of the strategy, how it can be planned and put across. It's not that, I just get one product from market and then it finishes all my worries and it covers everything. Now, the legacy systems, this is a major trouble, because legacy systems is what? Say if I have a firewall which is not very new, something which is, or let's talk about the tape management. So data backup is one of the very important things which happens in all the organizations. So we have moved from tape backups to online backups few years back. Now the same kind of transitions are happening in all the ways, in all the technologies. It keeps happening. Now something which is there in the tapes, for example, might not be good enough to pick something from the zero trust architecture. It cannot be, it cannot be implemented on the tape backup system. So legacy systems, wherever we have, it's the issue. You might also think of, as in a very layman language. So if you have a tab, say I have a tab, and it just takes 4G internet or maybe 3G internet. So even if I have the 5G internet at my home, the tab, since its capability is not to pick the 5G internet, that services, it will always run on the 3G, no matter how fast internet system I put at my home. So that's the trouble or the challenge with the legacy system always. And this is one of the biggest challenge for any of the organizations, because it's not very easy to change everything every day. It demands a lot of pre-work, post-work, and then the implementation. Then ongoing administration maintenance is very important. I can clean the house one day, but if I do not maintain it, it will get dirty. So, the maintenance, ongoing administration is very important, whether it is home, whether it is house or office or anything, even ourselves. So ongoing administration is must. The zero trust isn't without the security trust. And, that, goes forever, that we cannot zero down the risk. We can always minimize the risk, or we can do the delay. For example, if we this is not about the zero trust, but when we talk about the passwords, so the password is something we keep changing and all those. Do we mean that it will never get broken? It will get broken. We can just delay, when it gets broken. So that's how the challenges in this space also persist. I think this covers everything what I wanted to give a short understanding on this topic, and then we can move to Q&A.
If you have any questions in mind, please feel free to ask.
You can
Any
also
questions, please?
chat, put it in chat also.
Yeah, hi. This is Arun here. Just I have a question with respect to the framework which we were talking about, the zero trust framework. So just wanted to know, for example, if you're going to insert this framework at the individual layer or at a centralized position, uh, what is the impact with respect to the zero trust, the impact, the performance impact?
Performance, as in, you're asking, will this be adding latency to
Yes.
something?
Yeah.
Okay. So anything can only be any addition to the organization can only be successful in case it gives me the speed also. Now, to go back to the same thing, I have to deliver the business. I say, if I have the Amazon parcel, I have to deliver it to the customer. So if I say that I am putting a lot of security, and then I am, not bringing to the right person till 10 days, where everyone else is bringing it in 3 days, then it will not be successful. So this is very important, as in implement things in such a way that it also is time competitive. So when it comes into implementation, of course, so when you say that, SSO has come into picture, it's just one time login, and then you get access to every resource where you have where you are authorized to. So, that speed will be taken care of course. If you ask me now, what maybe per device, how it is acting and all those, I may not be able to comment. But yes, any new things which comes into market has to be cost time competitive. Otherwise, it will not go long. And this is something already 15%, 20% of the organizations has already moved to. And that becomes our pilot to plan further and move further into this.
Okay, thanks.
Someone says, what is FortiGate and Palo Alto Network? These are the vendors who provide these devices or solutions which organizations can pick and use into their infrastructure or network to implement zero trust security. Palo Alto FortiGate is not only specialized in this; they have been giving out, they are vendors since long for organizations' perspective.
So the another question was like you when you were sharing the PPT, the architecture of the zero trust, you had a forensic also. So this will handle the forensic. This will help out in the forensic analysis also, digital forensic analysis.
Forensic analysis is now put in almost, I think even now, if you ask me, DLP, with DLP, there is some sort of forensics which is little bit involved in this, that gives an indication. Then it goes to, indication that these are the points which can be, picked for further analysis. And then the forensic teams pick and investigate that further. So now, say in case we have to put a forensics device, we may need to see what particular device helps in forensics. And we have, say, IPS, IDS, all those devices. So they gives us the pointers or the events. They generate the events, as in, this has happened. So when we talk about any device, say how they are configured is, we have events defined for everything, where you have to say, if someone has attached something from organization, a confidential data which is there in the organization, and sending it across the email, I'm sending it to someone else, maybe intentional or unintentional, for any reasons. Now my IDS or IPS or DLP systems, whatever are there in my system running, they will indicate that there is an exception. Something is going out of my mailbox which carries the confidential information. And how they indicate? They might read some keyword from the documents, from the email and things like that. And then they indicate. The forensics will then pick and investigate further. Now it depends on us whether we want to do the forensics for each of the items, but generally what happens is we rely on any such events which actually indicates these are the pointers which should be investigated further. And then forensics, whether it is the device or the team, they pick it up, because it also comes with a cost. Now I may, in the entire day, the SIEM logs might be getting some thousands of logs, lakhs of logs. Thousands is less, because say a lot of people are working, they are doing some of the other activities. I may not want to check the event of wherever a successful login happened. So everywhere, because I have the uh, provisions in place where, if I log in with an incorrect credential or the username, One is that I will not get access. Second is after 3 attempts, my access will get blocked. So these are the two things maybe is good enough for me, because after 3 attempts, anyhow, my account is getting logged. So I'll not want to verify those logs as part of my forensic or, log monitoring on those things. I will rather go on to, such events where CPO threshold moved above 90%, or maybe we can also do now this IPS IDs are also doing the behavioral checks. I also quoted one of the examples where, say, if I work from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. in the night, but sometime, and I'm an admin of some accounts where credit card information is saved or something. But my IPS or IDs, they verify or they get that some account activity is happening at 8 a.m. or say 7 a.m. So this gives an indication, this gives an exception to verify these kind of items for forensics, or whatever levels, number of levels, what they want to verify as a. So these might be the triggers for verifying.
So basically, the zero trust framework caters to the forensic data also.
It depends on what devices we are putting in place.
Okay.
Zero trust means that it's a sum of devices. It's a sum of multiple solutions what we all put. Now, if I have a lot of money, I have that much of data confidential, and the data itself is very important, that I may want to put it for each of the activities. Say if it is bank transaction, I may want to put it for each of the activities. If it is just any other work, I may not want to put it for all the activities. I may select few. So that totally depends on how a business wants to put it.
Oh.
Of course they can put it. It depends on what cost and benefit they are getting and what areas they want to monitor.
Okay. Thanks, ma'am.
Whether zero trust framework is independent of technology tools by which it can be implemented in organization. So there is no one vendor which gives these devices or solutions. There are a lot of vendors who are giving the solution. So you can, it's like interoperable. It should be. That's because interoperability is something which we have achieved long back. Now anything and everything which comes now should be interoperable for it to go long way. It is a framework. It is not about some set of tools that if you put it, you are under zero trust architecture. So you may choose to put whatever fits or suits your technology skills, whatever suits your budgeting, price, and other stuff. So you can any organization can choose it.
Hello, Sakib this side.
Yes,
I have
okay.
a question. I mean, if is this zero trust only work for the outside breach or for the inside breach? Like if somebody from the inside of the company is not doing well and starting to breach the data.
Can you repeat the question? The first time I missed.
Yeah, I mean, is this zero trust only work for the breach from the outside or also from the inside? Like if somebody from the company become a rogue employee and start breaching the data from inside.
That's the unique point for this architecture. It also helps inside threat, to monitor inside threat. Now, if you remember the slides, what I have been presenting it, and I've been quoting about, it's fine that we put high walls around the perimeter, high walls around the house, and then everything keeps safe outside. But what if someone is already in my house? So it is very important that and it's that if as part of evolution we have reached that state that it is not that the external party is harmful for us. It's most of the time it's the internal parties are harmful us, unless we have a few linkage inside the organization. Now it can be a human weak link, it can be a code weak link, anything through which someone can exploit in the network or the organization. That has become the key to address. Now zero trust is aiming to check these points even inside when it is, and micro segmentation is one of the very important concepts into this. So we have been doing VLANs. It's micro segmentation is not a new concept. Again, VLANs we have been doing. So out of say if I have a VLAN of some 50 user, it's present in, they can access some 10 URLs. Now in that also, if we do micro segmentations, and each segment only has 10 IPs which can be taken up and used to access those URLs. So if one segment is breached, then another 9 is still safe. Now, at the background, these IPS, IDS, and all these, even firewalls are anomaly or behavior-based firewalls are there, which actually allows to understand what kind of activities are happening. Is it the legitimate activity or not? And basis that, these kind of cases are picked. And it's not now, we have been seeing cases where, however, these are very confidential matters, so it's not discussed openly. Some employees were just picked and then in one day they were fired. It's not that they have done anything which is visible to everyone or something, but something has been checked from their emails or those. So I think there was one case which I got to know. Someone was uploading some confidential data into their maybe Google Drive or whatsoever. And then if these kind of issues are figured out, then the strict actions are taken. So to your question, is it will this be checking or monitoring inside? Yes, it will be monitoring inside as well in the trusted network, and that's the key point over here, because we have been monitoring in the outside network, external network since years. But within the trusted network, we have now understood that even the monitoring of that is important. Even the stringent monitoring. It's not that there were no monitoring all this while, we had, but we are now moving to the next level.
Ma'am, I have a question. Hello.
Yes, Anish.
Yes. Basically, I wanted to learn about the micro segmentation. It can be implemented by using the hardware devices, or it can be used by software-defined parameters using software. And which one is better one? Okay. So this is my question. If I wanted to micro segment my network, and I am using softwares or based on the logic, then it is applicable or not in case of micro segmentation in zero trust.
Now, microsegmentation will not only limit to, if you ask me very on the implementation level, I haven't done any implementation on this, but what I can think of is microsegmentation can be done on hardware level as well. Again, from some of the commands and all those things, what we do. If you have any specific softwares coming up and you want to do it, that's also fine. So point is that, is it restricted to anyone? No, this can be done from both hardwares and softwares. What is more cost effective is what you have to check. How much cost you can put and how advanced product you can get is what someone would want to choose. Because say if I have something which just works on CLI, now my entire technology group might not be able to do or handle those devices. But if it is on UI, it is very simple. I have to micro segment this VLAN, and then I have to do the IP. It becomes quite easier. Then when it is easy, people friendly, it might come with the cost. So that totally depends on what products you pick. But it can be done on both hardware or software levels.
Okay, thank you.
Any
Okay,
other
good.
questions? So no more questions now. So let's call it a day now. Thank you, Srishti, for enlightening us, all of us, with your wonderful insight on the topic zero trust. So I thank you very much for sparing your valuable time. I also thank all the participants for joining this session. Thank you everyone. I request you to provide the feedback. Given I have provided a link on the chat box. So see you next week. Thank you everyone.
Thank you so much, sir, and thank you everyone. Have a nice day.
Thanks everyone.
Thank you.